No. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Girivaradhari Jayo Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Girivaradhari Jayo Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Girivaradhari Jayo Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Radhari Jayo Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Dana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Muna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Jagannath Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jai Jagannath Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavato Me Swami स्वामी नयन पतगमे भावतु मे जय राधा वल्लभ राधा वल्लभ श्री राधे वल्लभ राधा वल्लभ श्री राधे जय राधा वल्लभ राधा वल्लभ श्री राधे राधा वल्लभ श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे हरे राधे जय श्री राधे जय गिरि गोवर्धन 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 जय निताय दयाल जय निमाय सुंदर जय सुंदर निमाय जय निताय दयाल जय निताय दयाल जय निमाय सुंदर जय सुंदर निमाय जय निताय दयाल जय निताय दयाल जय निमाय सुंदर जय सुंदर निमाय जय निताय दयाल जय निताय दयाल जय निमाय सुंदर जय सुंदर निमाय जय निताय दयाल जय गौर निताय 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 जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा श्रीला गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा श्रीला गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा श्रीला गुरुदेवा ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतान की जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं Tato jayam udhirayet Srinvatam swakata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtanaha Hridantasto hi abhadrani Vidunnoti suhutsatam Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttamasloke Bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So today's verse, Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, Chapter 9, Appearance of the Demon, Vritrasura, and text number 49. Naveda Kripana Shreya Atmano Gunavastudrek Tasyatan Ichchato Yached Yadi Sopi Tata Vidaham Naveda Kripana Shreya Atmano Gunavastudrek Tasyatan Ichchato Yached Yadi sopi tato vidaham. Naveda kripana shreya Atmano gunavastudrik Tasyatan ichchato yached Yadi sopi tata vidaham. Naveda kripana shreya Atmano gunavastudrik Tasyatan ichchato yached Yadi sopi tata vidaham. Naveda kripana shreya Atmano gunavastudrik Tasyatan ichchato yached Yadi sopi tata vidaham. Naveda kripana shreya Atmano gunavastudrik Tasyatan ichchato yached Yadi sopi tata vidaham. Naveda kripana shreya Atmano gunavastudrik Tasyatan ichchato yached Yadi sopi tata vidaham. Naveda kripana shreya Atmano gunavastudrik Tasyatan ichchato yached Yadhi sopi tata vidaham. Yeah, word to word meaning by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Na, not, Veda, knows, Kripanaha, a miserly living entity. Shreyaha, the ultimate necessity. Atmanaha, of the souls. Gunavastudrik, who is attracted by the creation of the modes of material nature. Tasya, of him, tan, things created by the material energy. Chataha, desiring. Yachet, one bestows. Yadi, if. Saha api, he also. Tata vidaha, of the kind. A foolish Kripana who does not know his real self-interest, does not know his translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who think material assets to be everything or to be the ultimate goal of life are called misers, Kripanas. So those who think material assets to be everything or to be the goal of life are called misers or Kripanas. And I was a Kripana, I am a Kripana, struggling to be the next part. They do not know the ultimate necessity of the soul. Moreover, if the awards that which is desired by such fools, he must also be considered foolish. So, someone who gives an undesirable fruit to someone who should not be receiving it, even such a person is considered to be a fool. Maybe I'll give an example from my own life story, how I behaved fool as towards my mother. Purport. There are two classes of men, namely the Kripana and the Brahmana. A Brahmana is he who knows Brahman, the absolute truth, and who thus knows his real interest. A Kripana, however, is one who has a material, bodily concept of life. Not knowing how to utilize his human or demigod life, a Kripana is attracted by things created by the material modes of nature. The Kripanas who always desire material benefits are foolish, whereas Brahmanas who always desire spiritual benefits are intelligent. If a Kripana, not knowing the self-interest, foolishly asks for something material, one who awards it to him is also foolish. Krishna, however, is not a foolish person. He is supremely intelligent. If someone comes to Krishna asking for material benefits, Krishna does not award him the material things he desires. Instead, the Lord gives him intelligence so that he'll forget his material desires and become attached to the Lord's lotus feet. In such cases, although the Kripana offers praise to Lord Krishna for material things, the Lord takes away whatever material possession the Kripana has and gives him the sense to become a devotee, as stated by the Lord in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ami vigna e murkhe vishaya kena diba swa charanamrita diya vishaya bhulaibya. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. If one sincerely prays to God for material possessions in exchange for devotional service, the Lord, who is not foolish like such an unintelligent devotee, shows him special favor by taking away whatever material possessions he has and gradually giving him the intelligence to be satisfied only by rendering service to his lotus feet. Srila Vishnu Thakura comments in this regard that if a foolish child requests his mother to give him poison, the mother, being intelligent, will certainly not give him poison, even though he requests it. A materialist does not know that to accept material possessions means to accept poison. or the repetition of birth and death. An intelligent person, a Brahmana, aspires for liberation from material bondage. That is the real interest of a human being. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande paramananda madhavam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead as a form of Satchitananda Vigraha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Him who turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. Such is the mercy of the Lord. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Bandhavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation. Those who think material assets to be everything or to be the ultimate goal of life are called misers. They do not know the ultimate necessity of the soul. Moreover, if one avoids that which is desired by such fools, he must also be considered foolish. So we find that persons who want material gains are called the Kripanas. So such persons are the miserly people who do not know the value of the human form of life. We can, if you search through Kripana in Veda base, you find so many hits and it gives you so many references. So I'll take a couple of references starting from Bhagavad-Gita 2.7. I think everyone knows that that's the turning point of Gita where Arjuna surrenders himself to Krishna because of the perplexity he was placed on the battlefield. So what is the main material perplexity a person faces? This is the second paragraph for the purport. It is he who does not understand the problems of life. It is he who does not understand the problems of life. So we think that the main problem of life is earning money, having a shelter. So we used to have that famous saying in India, roti, kapada, makan. That is food, clothing and shelter, a house. So roti, kapada, makan. These are the problems of life. Sorry? Yeah, that's a very old slogan, but still it holds good today. Also the same thing is happening. But that's not the main problem for a human form of life. So it is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihad-Aranyaka Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yova etat aksharam gargi avidyatasman lokat praitisa kripanaha. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human and who thus quits the world like the cats and dogs without understanding the signs of self-realization. So he is the Kripana, someone who does not actually solve the problem of human form of life. Because amongst the 8.4 million species of life, it's only in the human form of life one can understand what is the real goal. In other forms of life, one cannot understand, one does not have that intelligence. So therefore, it is said that is the person who does not solve the problem. What is the problem? Janma mrityu jara vyadi. This is the basic problem we are facing. And I think recently, 2 days back, CNN reports that the scientists have reversed the aging process in mice. So that was the headlines in CNN, if someone has read it. Though I did not open the article, but that was the headline. So therefore, the next line it says that soon scientists will be able to reverse human form of life as well, the aging process, which means that you are trying to attain the so-called eternity in the human form. Earlier also, we have that the dead bodies being stored for I don't know how many centuries they try to store, but there's a business in US especially. Rich people, they allow their body to be stored under minus 279, I think, centigrade, and therefore they feel that someday scientists will be able to give life and therefore they can come back to life again. So this human form of life is the most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. So this human form of life is the most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problem of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a Kripana, is a miser. So someone who does not utilize his life for the ultimate good is considered to be a Kripana. So someone who lives in short-term benefit and someone who lives in long-term benefit. I think those of you who are in the financial market, we tend to know that there's a short-term benefit and a long-term benefit. You invest in stocks or you invest in property, and then you stay in that investment over a period of time, you get the gain. So here also, someone who looks at the short-term gain or any activity we perform, you get two results. One is the immediate material result and the other is the spiritual benefit. So the Kripanas or the misers, they look for or they capture the immediate material benefit at the expense of the long-term spiritual benefit. So on the other hand, there is the Brahmana or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. Ya etad aksharam gargi vidismas vidivasmat lokat praitisa brahmanaha. So the Kripanas are miserly persons, waste their time in being overly affectionate for life, society, country, etc. In the material conception of life, one is often attached to family life, namely wife, children and others. This is called the skin disease. The Kripana think that is able to protect his family member from death, or the Kripana think that his family society can save him from the verge of death. So we find that Kripana, he lives on a bodily platform at the expense of the spiritual activity, and therefore he surrenders the valuable human form of life, and as Prabhupada says that the person dies like cats and dogs. Then we have another quote in 1.13.25 where Mahatma Vidur is giving instruction to Dhritarashtra. The word Kripanasya Jijishvishosha Har are significant. There are two classes of men. One is called the Kripana and the other is called the Brahmana. The Kripana or the miserly man has no estimation of his material body, but the Brahmana has a true estimation of himself and the material body. The Kripana, having a wrong estimation of the material body, wants to enjoy sense gratification with his utmost strength, and even in old age he wants to become a young man by medical treatment or otherwise. So Prabhupada is giving this purport more than 5 decades back, and we find today the scientists, so-called scientists, they're trying to say that, well, we can reverse aging process. We have achieved already in a rat or in a mice, and therefore soon we'll be achieving for human beings as well. So I'll be eagerly waiting for it because I've become aged. So will I become young like Krishna, so that I can start my journey once again.
It's only for the very rich.
Starting, yes, rich, but the business expands to everyone, if that is true. So here, Dhritarashtra is addressed here as a Kripana because without any estimation of the material body, he wants to live at any cost. We don't understand that the body has to die. Anything that comes into existence has to disintegrate. But that somehow is not understood, and therefore we waste our human life. There is an interesting story in this regard. It is the story from Mysore. Mysore is well-known, or it used to be well-known for Chandan forest. I'm not sure whether even today it's known for Chandan forest. Chandan is the sandalwood forest. So therefore, it was those days when the king was ruling Mysore, and every day morning he would come onto his top of the palace and see his citizens, how they are. That was his strolling on the top of his palace. And he was observing that every day a reasonably elderly person would carry a huge load of wood with great difficulty, and then he would go to the market and sell that wood. Whatever price he gets, with that he was eking out his life and supporting his family. On seeing him for a long period of time, the king felt that I should help this person. So therefore, he called that person and he said that, I'm going to give you a part of the forest. Please take it. And what was the intention of the king? King thought that I'm going to give him the most valuable part of the forest, which is Chandan forest, the sandalwood forest, and therefore this person need not struggle in carrying the wood, because a small piece of sandalwood you sell in the market, you get big chunk of money, and with that the person will be able to live comfortably. And then after some days, or you can say a couple of weeks, he still finds that this guy is carrying the wood at the top on his head, and then continuing to do the same, selling his wood and then coming back, supporting his family with whatever little money he was earning. And the king was really surprised. I have given him the valuable part for forest, and look at this person, he is still carrying the same wood on his head. So he calls this person, he says, what did you do with the forest I've given you, part of the forest I've given you? What happened to all those trees? He said, I chopped those trees and sold that like firewood. So who is that person? He is the Kripana. He did not understand the value of the sandalwood or the chandan, and therefore he was using it as ordinary wood, and in the process he spent away the entire portion of the forest which was given to him as firewood only, instead of using as sandalwood. So similarly, a Kripana is a person, he is using his valuable human form of life, which is similar to chandan or sandalwood, but wasting it away only for what purpose? Eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. They are the basic 4 activities the person is trying to do. And when a person does these 4 activities, he is no better than an animal. Which is that verse which is quoted in, I think, Padma Purana, where it comes? Yeah. Ahara nidra bhayamaitunam cha samanyametad pashubhi naranam dharmo hitesham adhiko visesho dharmena hina pashubhi samanaha. So someone who wastes his valuable human form of life, like that woodcutter, then that person is considered to be an animal, is a pashu. And if you look at today the population, I think 7 billion or 8 billion plus population on this planet, how many of them are Kripanas? What do you think? What is the population? How many of them are Kripanas? Almost everyone. And I was a Kripana. It's not very far in my life that I'm trying to criticize someone, but just a couple of years before coming to Krishna consciousness, I was in that mode. I spent my whole life until that point only in earning money as a professional engineer, then earning money as a professional doctor, and earning money as a professional stockbroker, and earning money in property. This is what I have done in my first part of my life. So therefore, it is not just because I'm sitting on here on Vyasasana, I can't say that they are like that. I was also like that. I'm also like that. It's only Krishna's mercy or the mercy of the devotees that I found an exit route from that form of life, and therefore I should be grateful to Srila Prabhupada disciples, the association of devotees, which has changed the course of my life. And with that change of course of my life, I'm able to facilitate a change in course of life for my family, for extended family members, and from others with whom I try to come in contact. And this is actually our business. So we find that there are similarly many quotes given, even 4.28.6, then 7.9.45, then 11.21.27. So there are so many. As I said, if you touch Kripana in Veda base, you find at so many places references are given. And then we find Srila Prabhupada saying, Tripyanti neha Kripanaha. The Kripana's business means he does not know how to utilize the asset as that woodcutter. And therefore, we say that Kripana has a short-term vision or a materialistic vision. And because he is having a materialistic vision, so therefore Bhagavatam says, Puna punas charvita charvananam, that this person is chewing the same sugar cane. It's like we say, I think especially if you go to Vrindavan, you find that the person has taken the juice out of the sugar cane, and then the next customer comes, he once again squeezes the same sugar cane and then squeezes out. And then the third customer comes, once again he runs through the same sugar cane and squeezes out. And finally when he throws that whatever is left out by this side of the road, then comes the cow and other animals, and they try to chew what is left out. And that's what is the Puna charvita charvananam. So that we are trying to chew the same thing again and again, life after life. That is, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So now then, who is a Brahmana? Because in this verse we find there's a Kripana versus the Brahmana. So the Srila Prabhupada said that the opposite word of Kripana is Brahmana. Kripana is a miserly person who lives on a bodily platform, whereas the Brahmana lives on Brahman platform or Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. This used to be the question. I used to knock the door and then the other person would say, "Who are you?" I says, "I don't know who I am. If I knew, then I wouldn't be knocking on your door." So that used to be the answer as a child I used to give. So therefore, a Brahmana is a person. We have the famous quote by Srila Prabhupada. He often quotes, "Janmana jayate shudraha, samskarat bhaved dvijaha, vedapatat bhaved vipro, brahma janatiti brahmanaha." So everyone is born as a Shudra. But then somebody who becomes a Dvijaha when he goes through the samskara, that the Vedic ritual process. And then he becomes a Vipra when he undergoes the training in Vedic scriptures. And then rises to the platform of Brahma Janatiti Brahmanaha. Then he comes to the platform of Brahmana. But then this is the beginning. And then we have other verse also, Brahmanam Sahasreshabhyaha Satrayaji Visishyate Satrayaji Sahasrebhyaha Sarva Vedanta Paragaha Sarva Vedanta Vitkotya Vishnu Bhakto Visishyate. Out of thousands of Brahmanas, one is qualified to perform sacrifices, and out of many thousands of such qualified Brahmanas, expert in sacrifices, one learned Brahmana may have passed beyond all Vedic knowledge. Among many such Brahmanas, one who is a devotee of Vishnu is the best. So this is from Garuda Purana. So we find that, yes, you come to the Brahmana platform, but that's not enough. One should rise further. So someone who says that Aham Brahmasmi, that I am the spirit soul, then that the person is using his intelligence and trying to find out the difference between the body and the spirit, matter and spirit. But then use the same intelligence further to take shelter of Krishna. So when someone takes to the shelter of Krishna, then he becomes a Vaishnava. And the third step would be, you leave aside your intelligence and then transcend the intelligence to take complete shelter of Krishna. So first we try to understand who we are truly, differentiate between the body and the spirit, that is the use of intelligence. Then use that intelligence again to surrender to Krishna, and then set aside, transcend the intelligence itself and take complete shelter of the Lord. So this is the three-step process which you find the series of Bhagavad-Gita verses tries to help us to understand. And therefore, and then Lord also reciprocates. He is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the well-wisher of everyone. And as a well-wisher, we find that Srila Prabhupada in the purport say that he is supremely intelligent. And as a well-wisher, as a father of every living entity, he gives what is best or what is good for the living entity. And therefore, we say normally Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. This is the normal way we address. But Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, he says he is also Kripana Vatsala. So he's not only Bhakta Vatsala, but is also Kripana Vatsala. He showers his mercy, he showers his affection to everyone because he is the Supreme Father. And what is important in all this is that we need to purify our consciousness, and that purification of consciousness takes place by taking to devotional activity. So therefore, we move from the bodily platform through using the intelligence, coming to the knowledge platform, saying that we are not the body, spirit, soul, but we move further up to take shelter of Krishna, and then finally complete surrender to the Lord, setting aside our intelligence. Now, just because I am facing problems in life or turbulences in life, I try to solve the problems and become a Kripana. But then scripture says that yes, turbulences in life are part of material existence. Financial, emotional, and other turbulences are part of life. I used to think that why Srila Prabhupada makes such statements, turbulences, that we are being pushed from one end to the other end on waves of sea and so on. So I was, but Krishna showed me what it is in the last 3-4 years. He's shown what are the problems in life in terms of emotional problems, in terms of financial problems. Turbulences, one after the other keeps hitting. Then we are put to that vibration, and then there is a reason for that. And if we truly understand the reason behind the turbulences, then our Krishna consciousness deepens. We take further shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So here Prabhupada in the purport, he says that, and they do not know the ultimate necessity of love. However, if one awards that which is desired by such fools, he must also be considered foolish. So not only that the person is a Kripana, but someone who is trying to give some material benefit to such a Kripana is also a foolish person or a fool, because the person does not know his real interest. 7.5.31 says, Nate vidhu swartha gatam hi Vishnu, that the real swartham or real selfishness is to take shelter of the Lord Vishnu, but that is not known, and therefore we waste our life. I'll give my own personal example how I have behaved like a fool rewards. I can't say fool because it's my mother, but my mother, she came to Melbourne twice. She lived with us for 2 years, and she was, I'm using was because last year she left her body. So this happened more than a decade back. She came here, and she was type 1 diabetic. Type 1 is someone who is not insulin dependent, insulin independent. There are two types of diabetic patients. One is the type 1, the other is type 2. So type 1 is someone who is dependent on insulin. Typically it is genetically inherited. Even irrespective of the age, somebody can get type 1. I've seen small kids, 4 years, 5 years, they become diabetic. And from that age onwards, they need to take insulin. We had a family in our congregation whose 2 kids are type 1 diabetic. So it's a pain for the parents to see that small kids, 5 years, 6 years, every day you need to check for the sugar value, not once, 3 times in a day, and before the food is taken, they need to check the levels of sugar, and then they are required to take the insulin. So that is type 1 diabetic. So my mother was not type 1, but she was type 2. There is insulin independent, but she likes sweets. Maybe I have inherited her sweet tooth. I also like sweets. So therefore, when she came here, she was living with us. Out of my affection, I used to give her so much of sweets. And my wife being a naturopath or a homeopathy doctor, she used to say, "What are you doing? Why are you giving her sweets?" She was taking the diabetic pill, half a tablet every day. But still, I would prepare sweets at home, and then obviously every week we would come here, and then sweets once again here. And so that 2 years when my mother was here, the life used to be a little uncomfortable for me, because one side my wife Nirmala, she would bombard me, "Why are you giving sweets and sweets to mother? Don't give that, you're spoiling her health." But other side, I see that mother likes it, and therefore out of my, you can say, foolishness, I used to give her sweets. Of course, when she left back to India, when they checked her sugar level by her diabetologist, he said that sugar levels have risen. So from a half a tablet, she was asked to take 1 tablet or 1.5 tablet for a couple of months, and then the levels stabilize. So it's something similar to what is happening here, that you approach the devatas, and then the devatas, they give you whatever you want, and therefore they do not mind what are the consequences of giving that boon, because you have asked for it and you have given it. So therefore here, Sukadeva Goswami says that if one award that which is desired by such fools, he must also be considered foolish. So I was considered to be foolish because I'm trying to give my mother sweets which I'm not supposed to give her, but still I have given. And similarly here also, we find that the Kripanas, they approach, or the materialists approach for material benefit, and the devatas, they try to reward. Okay, you have asked for it, we are going to give you. But instead, the Lord, what does the Lord do? If someone comes to Krishna asking for material benefits, Krishna does not award him the material things he desires. Instead, the Lord gives him intelligence so that he'll forget his material desires and become attached to the Lord's lotus feet. In such cases, although the Kripana offers praise to Lord Krishna for material things, the Lord takes away whatever material possession the Kripana has and gives him the sense to become a devotee, as stated by the Lord in Chaitanya Charitamrita 22.39. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. And this illusory material enjoyment does not disappear even the later part of the life. It has nothing to do with the age. We used to receive an elderly couple in Hyderabad. That's the place where I hail from, and we used to have the clinic. When I say elderly, the person was 60 plus, Gujarati family from Gujarat, typical, in the mode of goodness, you can say that vegetarian family. And they were taking medicine, and when they enter into the chamber for receiving consultation, I was taking their case, and the gentleman would say, he would tell his wife to stay outside. And he would come and tell me, "Doctor, somehow give my wife medicine so that her sensual pleasure increases. Because I want that." And my wife says, she pushes me away. It's a person who is over 60 years and he wants to still have that material enjoyment. And then he goes out, his wife comes inside and she says, "Doctor, please give my husband medicine so that his sensual pleasure comes down. So we find the same thing here, that the person is taken over by the illusory energy of the Lord, even in the later phase of life. It's nothing to do with the age. Someone is in 20s, if he's having sensual pleasure, you may say, it's okay, the body is active. But even the later phase of life, the chief sense, which is the mind, is still active, although the physical body may not be able to respond, but still the mind says, no, go for it. And this is a classical example I used to face with that couple. Every month they would come and they said, do something to my wife or do something to my husband, so that we both are, can have that pleasure. So if one sincerely, so I'm intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. If one sincerely prays to God for material possessions in exchange for devotional service, the Lord, who is not foolish like such an unintelligent devotee, shows him favor by taking away whatever material possessions he has and gradually giving him the intelligence to be satisfied only by rendering service to his lotus feet. Actually, this used to be the typical Vedic culture of living in India. If you go back 4 decades, 5 decades, in a village life, I come from a small village where we used to say it's a Brahmana Agrahara. It's a land of Vedic culture. And everyone was so satisfied with the simple living. Others, I think I must have said in a couple of sessions earlier also, no electricity, no pipeline for water, no gas, no telephone, nothing. Water, you have to go to the pond or the river and then get water in the vessel. Electricity, no electricity, you have only the kerosene lantern, and then no gas, so therefore the wood, we used to buy the wood and stock it, because in rainy season it's very difficult to lit it, so therefore you buy, keep it, facilitate it to dry, and then you chop it to small pieces and then lit the firewood, and then that's how the cooking used to take place. And then the grains, many a time, I used to see that they used to pound the paddy, and then the husk is removed and the grains come out of it, the rice comes out of it. So it's not that as if there was a mill and where you send the rice to the mill. It came to a later phase, but in the beginning there was no such facility. So it was manual pounding. You lift that huge, I don't know what that's called in English, that stick, and then you keep pounding. It's a beautiful, if you observe, I wish I had the camera at that time to take a video recording. But otherwise, 2 ladies, they lift rhythmically, they pound the grain and the rice comes out, the husk gets separated, and with that the food was cooked. And the evening, every day you hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. A pujari would come and would recite the Bhagavatam. And because everyone had in the village 1 or 2 acres of land, in exchange they would give a handful of grain to that pujari who has recited Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as a sense of gratitude. And then you hit the bed by 7:38 because no electricity, no TV, nothing, no facility was available. And therefore you hit the bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening, and morning 3:30, 4 o'clock you are up. And then you walk the distance to river Godavari, because village on the bank of river Godavari. You go to Godavari 3 kilometers, walk the distance, take water, take bath, and then once again a pot of water you are carrying. Along the way there are temples, you give water, and you go to enter the temple, you pour water, because typical Shiva temples, so you take a glass tumbler and then give abhishekam to Lord Shiva, and then you come back home with that water, you cook the food, and then it is offered, And then that's how the life went on. And that was a typical life for centuries. But what has changed that life from a Krishna conscious life to the modern life is the so-called technology. Especially the digital technology in the last 3 decades has changed the life, so much so that the simple living of Krishna conscious centered activities has changed to technology-driven, money-spinning activities. In the process, hardly anyone becomes a Tesla chief, or hardly anyone becomes an Amazon chief. Everyone is struggling, and therefore it has increased the needs, or it has increased the wants or the desires of the people. Why not I become an Ambani, or why not I become a Tesla chief? After all, in what way is he better than me? And the person spent the whole life in chasing those activities. So, on one side we may say that technology has been a boon in the last couple of decades, but actually it has taken persons away from simple village Krishna conscious life to a complicated, unnecessarily spending time as a Kripana instead of spending life as a Brahmana. So summarizing, that Kripana is a person who lives on a bodily platform, looks for a short-term goal, does not have an understanding of the ultimate benefit of the life. And the ultimate benefit of the life can be understood by properly using the intelligence, coming to the platform of the Spirit, and then rising to the platform of taking shelter of the Lord, and then even transcending the intelligence to see that you are completely surrendered to the Lord in Krishna consciousness. So that's in the Kali Yuga, the age we are living, it is not a gradual process of going through the Varnashrama Dharma typically, but it is the direct process of associating with a pure devotee, or an association of devotees. It's a shortcut, as Prabhupada always says, that instead of climbing up the steps and trying to reach out the maybe 20th floor or a 60th floor in a New York building, which you may not actually go, you get tired and then you feel, well, whatever the platform, 5th floor you have reached, that itself is the ultimate goal. But instead, hop into a lift, there's the association of devotees, and then take to the process of Krishna consciousness, and then reach your destiny quickly, easily, and then with happiness, with blissful activities in terms of chanting, eating prasadam, dancing, harinam, and so on. Yeah, with this I think we stop this session 5 to 9, and any questions or comments?
So what's the reference for the Kripana here to Kripana itself? What's the verse?
It is 7th canto, 9th chapter. I think the verse I'll check and let you know, Prabhu. But that's the Kripana Vatsala, it is there.
If someone asks the Lord for material benefit, like they ask the Lord they want to be famous, they ask the Lord that they want to be famous or something, and they actually become famous, does that mean that that's actually what was best for them?
I'll repeat the question. If someone asks the Lord to become famous, and instead the person becomes a beggar.
No, they actually become famous.
They become famous.
Oh, they actually become famous.
Does that mean that's what's best for them, like in their spiritual growth?
Give an example, Prabhu, so that we can take it up for discussion.
I don't know, that was the example.
Yeah, because one becomes typically as part and parcel of the Lord, we have the aspiration of the the 6 opulences the Lord has. What are the 6 opulences the Lord has? Strength, to be famous, knowledgeable, detachment. So those are the 6 qualities. But those 6 qualities are on the spiritual platform. But we are trying to achieve the same 6 qualities on the material platform. And that's the disease. You can get the same 6 qualities by on the spiritual platform in the life of a human being. And the best example is Srila Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada has become famous. Prabhupada is the richest person. You can say that if you add up all the properties, temples all over the world, Prabhupada in today's terms is a billionaire. And no one can compare to Srila Prabhupada's knowledge. No one can compare to Srila Prabhupada's detachment. And someone who has seen Srila Prabhupada from a close distance, they see him in aura. Because many times, if you read Lilamrita, we find there are a policeman and others. They say that when Srila Prabhupada is walking, they could see that aura around Srila Prabhupada. Look at Prabhupada, he is shining. Who is this gentleman? He is shining. So all those qualities, the 6 qualities which Lord Krishna has in full, because as part and parcel of Krishna, our amsha, we also desire, but we are desiring incorrectly. If you desire them on the spiritual platform, if you do the spiritual activity, to the extent you perform spiritual activity, automatically you get these opulences. And if someone gets these opulences, they could become an obstacle, as we find Raghunath Goswami says in Manasiksha. So therefore, when you get these opulences, one should not become proud. One should still continue to be on the humble platform. Amanitvam, arambitvam, that's journey. For a spiritual activity, that is the verse we need to put on as a necklace and remind ourselves who we are. As a person advances in Krishna consciousness, he becomes more and more humbler because he understands his relationship with Krishna and what is his position with respect to Lord Krishna, and therefore he genuinely becomes humble. Does it answer your question, Prabhu? Yeah, any other question, comment? Okay, Grandharaj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.